Okay, everybody, welcome to the show. This is the Bunker Nation Show. My name is Michael Bunker. You are not mistaken. This is not a live video. This one is being recorded. It is part of the How to Live series. I just happen to be using the whole StreamYard mechanism here to do the show so that I can put things up on the screen when I need to do it. So this will be a new experiment in this type of show. Like I usually say, welcome to the Bunker Nation. My name is Michael Bunker. I'm going to be your host for the afternoon, and it is afternoon right now. So we're going to do a little talk. I run across things all the time, but I've got to do some disclaimers first. But before we do that, I got to do a little thing. It's not the usual box that we do on the live shows, but this is a live show, so it's different. All right, so I need to do some disclaimers. First of all, I run across the things that I'm going to illustrate to you today all the time. And I run across them from the left and from the right and from people. It's common. The whole point of me making this video is this type of illogic, this type of manipulation is common. It's across the political spectrum. I am not in any way equating anything. I'm not equating the left and the right. I'm not saying everything everybody does is the same and everybody's equally evil and I'm sitting here balanced on the fence at all. I say my opinions, but what I try to do is I try to always examine these things fairly. I run across these things all the time. I happen to have yesterday found a perfect example that utilizes a lot of the fallacies we've gone over in a how to think series, and we've talked about on the live broadcast, and they were all in one neat little package, so I chose to use that. Had I wanted to spend some time sifting through the internet, I could have easily found one coming from the right that was the same thing. I run across them all the time. I point them out when I see them. It just happens to be that a friend of mine that I mentioned on the show occasionally, my friend Forbes West, thought this thing was funny, which is right par for the course for him. And so then he posted it, and he made it perfectly easy for me to steal it and use it for content. So that's kind of my disclaimer is, don't get tied up in the politics of the thing that I'm talking about. Don't get tied up in the left-right dialectic, all of that garbage. I'm trying to teach you how to think. And I don't care which side of the fence you're on. I don't care what your opinions are on any of this stuff. We're just looking at the logic and the reason and the mechanisms and the sophistry and the tricks that are being used. Again, I could do this exact same show if I wanted to spend the time finding one with an example from the right that does the exact same thing. And it's easier now because the two sides just swap depending on who wins elections. So even a week apart, they could be making contrary arguments, arguing against the point they just had the week before. So leave the politics out of it. Just listen to the logic and the reason and the examples that I'm teaching you, because they're going to be very valuable to you going forward. Okay, so that said, let me go ahead and pull up our thing here if I can. It may take me a second. I'm learning how to do this. Here we go. Let me make it bigger. I'll make me smaller while we read it. This is Forbes West that posted this. It's from some guy named Patrick W. Watson. I thought about removing his name, and I thought, I'm not going to do it, because his whole point here is to make fun of people, to bully and use snark. And so, what's good for the goose, or whatever they say, sauce for the goose is sauce for the gander. Let me read this to you. And let me say again, I hate to keep doing disclaimers. When I'm using the word meme loosely, because these things are just social media posts, and they become memes because somebody like Forbes screenshots it and they share it, and it gets shared all over the place, and they become memes. So I'm just using the term loosely. Patrick says, MAGA thought process. We must punish evil China for sending this horrible virus that is just the common cold. And we don't need masks, but Trump was a hero for wearing one that one time, and God bless him for inventing the miraculous vaccine we're not going to take. Now, let me say, because I know that YouTube goes through all my videos to make sure I'm not talking about things I'm not supposed to be talking about. I am not talking about the virus. I'm not talking about the vaccine. I am not talking about that stuff. We're going to look at the logic, the reason, the method, the methodology of the delivery, and why this stuff is dangerous and stupid and ought to be called out, and why you ought not share junk like this. Because it's just adding to the devaluation, the degradation, and demoralization of the society. All right, so we're going to take a look at this. We're going to point out a whole bunch of things. We're going to punt this thing about 1.5 miles. And anybody who sits there and shares this stuff and likes it and ha, 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 oh, this is one of the funniest things I've seen or whatever, you'll all get your dose. So let's point this out. Let me bring it back up here a little bit. First of all, when you start something like this and it says MAGA thought process, let me tell you a little bit about what's going on. This is a mechanism called Brin Bundling, and I've done a whole video on it before. I will link that in the description below, but I'm going to describe it all right here so you don't even really need to go watch that video. Named after David Brin, the author, who has made this logic fallacy, famous because he uses it so much, but everybody uses it. It's used all over the time. You'll have people in your social media atmosphere that use it. Basically, Brin Bundling is this. You create a cartoon character of your enemy. It's a cardboard cutout. And then you attach everything that you disagree with to that cardboard cutout. Now, in reality, you're not going to find one person that believes all of these things because that person doesn't exist. What they do is they create a cardboard cutout. They call it, and this is another thing, we want to use name calling. So libtard, conservatard, Republican, Democrat, demon crap, these stupid, moronic plays on words that really, really low information people and low humor people think is funny. Now, I understand this stuff is supposed to be funny, but it's what's become of humor that snark and sour, hateful invective is now considered funny. And so this is what this is. It's called Brin Bundling. With Brin Bundling, made famous by David Brin, what you do is you just create a cardboard character and everything you can think of, anything that's opposed to what you believe at the moment. Now, you got to remember with our modern political system that the two sides change sides after an election. So if one of them gets to power, they are now for the things they were against and they were against the things they were for. So at any moment, you just pull out everything that you're against, you hang it on this cardboard cutout. Now, some people might say, well, this is a straw man. It is related to the straw man fallacy, but this goes beyond that. Straw man basically is just creating something easy to knock over, an argument that you can win because you can't win the real argument. That's not the same as Brin Bundling. Brin Bundling is just basically taking everything that you hate, everything that you disagree with, and putting it into an invisible, mythical person and acting like that person then represents everybody who even disagrees with you on one point. So, for example, I have a very good friend who is a homosexual, libertarian writer. So he happens to think that, shenanigans went on or whatever. He sees things sometimes that the left is doing, and he speaks out against those things. On many, 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 many things, he would be right down the line with the left. But what you do when you're Brin Bundling is it doesn't matter what anybody actually believes. It doesn't matter what any individual actually believes, or if somebody only believes one of the things, or not even one of them. It's just that you've misstated or recharacterized the one thing. And then you attach all of the rest of this to them. So everything you can think of. And it could be 1 mile long. So that folds into another fallacy called Gish Galloping. So write down Brin Bundling because you're going to see it all the time and you'll know when to call it out. Brin Bundling, very shortly, to repeat, is this. You just, everything you disagree with, you hang it on a cardboard character and then you attach that reality to everybody who's of the opposing political view. So if you think that, you don't like fat people, you hate fat people or whatever. Anyways, you just make a list of everything that you hate. Perhaps you hate people that like lasagna. All of these things, and then you create a fictional character and you give them the attributes of everything that you hate, And then when you meet one person who may not have any of those other things in common, who says, I don't like lasagna. Oh, well, you're blah, blah, blah. And then you try to make them defend all of that stuff. And it's so voluminous that nobody can go through it all. Nobody has the time like I do to sit down here and make a video because Patrick put together this Brin bundle and threw it out there on the internet. And so the second thing we're going to talk about is Gish Galloping. Gish Galloping is basically in a debate or a discussion, or if you're involved in political discourse or something like that, you throw out so many elements, so many parts of the equation, so many arguments in one fell swoop that you know the other side is not going to have the time or the energy or the want to go through it all. Forbes West, who posted this, is a genius at this. He will never, ever deal with one issue at a time. What he does is he will sit there and go on a rant about 47 things while you're sitting there waiting to deal with the first thing that he said. And this Patrick has done this as well. So he's thrown these, not only has he done this Brin bundling and this Gish Galloping, but he's done it without any punctuation so that you don't even stop reading. You actually read the whole thing before you ever go, well, wait a minute, and look at any of the things individually. So we got Brin bundling, we got Gish Galloping, we got straw man, we got a red herring where he's basically trying to divert any attention from any real discussion on the issues because he thinks he's a comedian apparently. And I love humor as much as anybody else, and I throw in my own on occasion. And some of you might go, what a hypocrite. Just on this video, he's already called people stupid 14 or 15 times. But let me tell you something. The words stupid or idiot or moron, those are just forensic examinations of somebody's intelligence and their ability to analyze information. It's a little bit different than MAGA thought process or libtard or democrat or whatever these stupid titles. And by the way, that's another fallacy. That's called an ad hominem attack. And so although there are people that I know who might be not willing to take the vaccine, and some people might be willing to take the vaccine, and I know some that are involved in either one of the two prominent parties, this guy thinks that everybody who disagrees with him is a MAGA. And you'll hear him say maggots and all this stupid stuff. And it's because they don't have the ability to think. They don't have any compassion. They don't have any love for their fellow man. They're not willing to look at people as individuals. And although I am not a Trump supporter, did not vote for Donald Trump either time, and people know very well that I have absolutely nothing to do with any of that stuff. That's the first thing these people will do when you disagree with them on something is they throw you into a political camp like with Brin bundling, and they try to attach all this stuff to you that you don't even believe. So he starts off with MAGA thought process. Now, I've already got like 10 minutes in on the first three words. And now we run into our first and only that I know of punctuation until the end, which is a colon. So basically, this is telling you, everybody you meet, everybody who's got a Trump sign in their yard, everybody with a Trump sticker, everybody that says, hey, I kind of like the guy, I like his economics or whatever, but I don't like this. All of these people say and believe all of these things. We must punish evil China for sending this horrible virus. We're going to count that as element one. That is just the common cold. And we'll stop there. So there's two things here. And he's trying to do a contradiction or a contrast and trying to illustrate that somehow these things are contradictory. That China should be punished for sending a horrible virus that is not a virus, but just the common cold. As if he knows anybody, any individual who holds these two positions. He doesn't. And the reason why is because you can just go by the wording of it. We must punish evil China. Well, there are people, and Trump's one of them, that believes that China should be punished for the way that they dealt with the virus and the way that they allowed it to spread and all of those things. I don't have an opinion on it one way or another, but there are people that do believe that. And at the same time, he's saying, okay, that group of people who are all Trump supporters, by the way, there's nobody, no libertarians, no Green Party members, nobody else who thinks that China maybe should be punished economically or, pardon me, whatever, for the destruction they've wrought on the world by mishandling this crisis. And of course, if you're in this guy's particular head, you're going to start thinking, well, we have to punish Trump and we have to punish our government for their mishandling because 200-some-thousand people have died. But we shouldn't punish the country from which the virus came, who could have done more to stop it. Apparently, because what we're doing is we're just casting thoughts into people's heads, things that we think they must think. So if you're sitting here thinking that we shouldn't punish China, then how is it that you hold the contrary opinion at the same time that we should punish our own government for not stopping it from coming from China? Don't want to get into the politics of it. I'm just talking about the contradictions and the hypocrisy of it. And he says that is just the common cold. Now, this is just nonsense. I have heard people, but by the way, full disclosure, I got COVID. We were found to have COVID in my family on November 16th. I'm 3 weeks from being diagnosed with COVID. Got pretty sick, lost 15 pounds, only about 65% back to strength. And I have talked about my experience with COVID. And it's obviously not the common cold. And I have not heard anybody say that it is it's just the common cold. I've heard people say it's a coronavirus, which is what the common cold is by way of category. And there may be, and I want to get into a big point right here, there may be some people out there that believe that. But so we're going to get into another big issue. We've already gotten to Brin Bundling, Gish Galloping, and so we're going to talk about this. And that is, the term that you need to learn is not statistically significant. There's a thing that goes on in social media, and now the mainstream media, they actually report on social media as if it's news. And there's these things that happen where somebody writes something and says, oh, these people believe this thing. And there's nobody really that believes that. There may be 5 people. And then they go and find 5 people who believe that on Twitter. They get screen captures, and then they go out there and say, this is what these people believe. And it's another method of Brin Bundling. and this happened with the Red Solo Cup nonsense myth that was completely made up. And it happened with the Black Santa. Nobody could find anybody other than a handful of nuts. And you can find 5 people or 10 people or 20 people out of the millions or billions of people on social media that believe anything. But the fact is, it's not statistically significant. If I sit there and I say, listen, folks, bowling balls are round. There's no such thing as a square bowling ball. Now, factually, statistically, I'm correct. Is there such a thing as a square bowling ball? Most likely. Somebody out there has made one. Some artist has probably made one. Somebody thought it would be funny. Someone made one out of clay. Somebody made one out of glass. Who knows? Somebody put one on display in their living room. So there may be, because there's 7 billion people on the earth, there may be 15 square bowling balls in the world. It's not statistically significant because there are probably 100 million or more. I have no idea how many bowling balls they have in China, but they're roundish. And this is another tactic that is used all the time. What they do is they go and they find one person who has a nutty thought or thinks something or says something stupid, and then they try to represent that that's a particular widespread opinion of all these people. So there are people out there, most likely, who believe that this virus is just the common cold. Are they the same people who think that we ought to punish China for unleashing the virus or allowing it to get here? Most likely not, but there might be 3 out of 7 billion people that think that. Who knows? It's not statistically significant. And if you think it is, you're a moron. You don't understand how things work. So let's move on. We keep finding more and more gold here. And we don't need to wear masks, but Trump was a hero for wearing one that one time. So now there's the accusation that people who perhaps have an opinion on the mask, and I know there are people, I have good friends and family members who are absolutely pro-mask, and I have people that are absolutely anti-mask, people like me who just don't think it's that big a deal. If I don't want to wear one, I don't wear one. If some business requires that I go in there and I want to partake in that business, then I wear one. I'm not in anybody's camp on this thing. I just think the whole thing has become a big battering ram to use against people you already disagree with on other things. And so is it possible that there are people out there that say we don't need to wear masks, but Trump was a hero? I would like to see Patrick find a person who believes both of those things at the same time. Maybe he can. Maybe he can find 5. Maybe he can find 10. He can find 10 on social media, I'm sure. He can just do a search on Twitter. Again, not statistically significant. Most of the people that I've met who are very pro-mask, who are adamantly pro-mask, that think everybody should wear a mask all the time, that's just what they believe. There is no contrary. They don't sit there and go, oh, but somehow Trump was wearing a mask and he was a hypocrite. I don't know where that's coming from. It's just nonsense. And it all comes down to the fact that this guy has a particular opinion, and everybody that disagrees with him on one single issue, whatever it is, believes all of these things. And this is funny because snark in America today has replaced humor. It's replaced it. Because if you can say something that is truly stupid, and this is a truly stupid post, it is so completely inaccurate, so completely mean-spirited, and completely bereft of any intelligence whatsoever. And it's only designed to humiliate. It's not designed to cross the lines and talk to people and communicate. He has no intention of communicating with anybody other than a bunch of laughing monkeys who like to throw poop at each other, and they think this kind of thing is funny. That's really where we illustration of where we are today. See, Trump was a hero for wearing one that one time. I never heard anybody and I know people that are anti-mask, who have ever said that Trump was a hero for wearing one time. Perhaps you can find one. Perhaps you can find 100. Not statistically significant. God bless him for inventing the miraculous vaccine. Now we're getting into the real load of bullshit. I have not heard one single person say that Trump invented the vaccine. What I have seen is that there are people who have, in fact, at least five state governments who, when they thought that it was possible Trump was going to win the election, said, we're not taking the vaccine. State governments representing California and Washington and Oregon and other states said, we're not taking the vaccine until we do our own private tests to make sure that the vaccines are safe. We're not going to trust the federal government. We're not going to trust Trump. We're not taking a Trump vaccine. And I saw it on social media, and I saw people passing it around. And then the day, November 4th, after the election, they're like, yay, vaccine, let's all do it. That's where the contradiction and the contrast and the hypocrisy is. But you see, the sides just switch sides. The one side was saying this, and now the other side is saying it. God bless him for inventing the vaccine. I think most people, including the New York Times and several other people, have given Trump credit for fast-tracking the vaccines. But I haven't heard anybody say that he invented it. I think the one person who invented this thing is Patrick W. Watson. I think he made it up in his head. And the fact that he might be able to find 4 or 5 people on social media who are retarded or who have banged their head or ate too much lead chips as babies, still rolling their poop into balls like when they were 2, perhaps he can find some people like that. Not statistically significant. God bless him for inventing the miraculous vaccine we're not going to take. I know people who are not going to take a vaccine, and some of them are geniuses. Some of them are way smarter than Patrick Watson, who put this thing together. Seriously, I thought maybe a 7-year-old put this thing together. And so there are really smart people who realize this is a different thing than most vaccines. And intelligent people look at the data and they go, this is something I can support. This is something I can't support. Up until about 5 minutes ago, we were all willing to look at things and make judgments for ourselves. But all of a sudden, we got Patrick Watson who's going to sit there and say, we're not going to take that, even though we were the same people that were applauding it. No evidence that the same person has these contradictory views. And if he could find one, or he could find five, or could find 100, not significantly, statistically significant. This is all made up bullshit. And people will read this, low information people who don't know any better, who don't know the methodology of this type of tricksterism, this Jesuitical sophistry. And they laugh at this because they think it's true. Why? Why do they think it's true? They already have borne false witness against their political opponents. They already think evil thoughts about them. And so they've done the same thing that David Brin does. And they cast all of these bad opinions onto a fictional character that doesn't exist. They're not willing to talk to him. They're not willing to have a reasonable debate or discussion with him. They just cast all of these things. And so it's funny to see those people lampoon. It's lampooning is now the height of political intercourse. This is where we are. And so really, really low information people, idiots and morons, and I'm just doing a forensic analysis of their intelligence, pass this stuff out there, they start sharing it, and it goes all over, and all of a sudden the level of invective, the level of hatred between the two sides increases. Now, I want to remind you that I told you from the very beginning, I could find examples of this exact same thing put out there by Republicans, put out there by conservatives. I see them all the time. Had I happened to see one when I was thinking about doing a how to think video, I would be talking about that one. I happened to find this one, and it was so perfect because it is so ignorant. It is so ridiculously stupid that it rose to heights I couldn't even imagine. As a person who teaches logic and reason, I really thought, if it's possible that there's somebody out there whose brain is so scrambled, who has a garbage dump truck traveling around in his brain that actually could put every logical fallacy I've been teaching for a year into a sentence without punctuation, boy, that would be great. That would be like a gift given to me in December of all time. And guess what? Here's Patrick Watson. So I wanted to share this all with you. Let me see what I might have thought that I might have missed. Nothing. I got through all of it in a reasonable amount of time. All right, y'all, if you have questions or comments, and here's the thing. I don't want to hear any of your political BS in the comments. If you have something to say, you have a suggestion, you want me to do the same thing maybe with one of these things from the Republican side, I'd be glad to do it. It's not necessary because the Bunker Nation, we're adults, and we're capable of throwing the political bullshit to the side and actually looking at the facts and going, yeah, this is stupid. It's a stupid argument. It's insulting, it's bullying, and it's nonsense. And he has every right to do it, and I will defend his right to the death to say stupid things. But what I will also do is tell you that it's stupid because that's what it is. All right, everybody, make sure you leave your comments in the comments section. In the description, I'm going to put some links to some other, if I can get my mouse to work, to my other stuff that I've mentioned during the video. Hit subscribe on YouTube if you would. Make sure you hit the like button and also hit the little bell icon because I go live a lot, like 3 or 4 times a week. And you could actually get into the comment section and you could talk to me and perhaps we could have a civil, intelligent discussion, perhaps. So that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think. I'll talk to you all soon.